In sports, if you want to be the best, there are no off days.
Welcome into the No Off Days podcast. Chris, I've got to be honest, I've had just so many things consuming my mind in recent days that it's hard for me to get ready for a podcast.
Super Bowl or what?
No, I've been playing with AI song generator.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm a master music producer at this point in time. I've created some hits that I really feel like could be made for the airwaves. In fact, on today's podcast, I think how about this? I made a song about you.
Wow.
I made a song about Brian King, our producer.
Okay.
And maybe we can go to break on both of these songs throughout the course of the show.
Bump in and out with them.
I think so, yeah.
You don't have any copyright issues here, do you?
I sure hope not. It's AI. What kind of copyright could they potentially have?
Well, what if someone else out there has already created a Chris Cato song and it sounds just like yours?
I know.
I think it's like number 5 on Spotify now.
I guess we're going to mess around and find out, won't we? Welcome into the show. We got Chris Cato over here. I'm Scott Smith. BK is in the booth. And we are in between championship week and Super Bowl week, affectionately known as Pro Bowl week in the NFL. I'm not sure how much tuning in to this, although I feel like in recent years they've kind of made it a little bit more palatable. They've just done away with the whole idea that we're actually playing a football game, and it's just flag football. So they're having fun. The tug contests and dodgeball, things like that. Mm-hmm. So. But after last week's championship games, I think the question for me was like I found myself, not only because I ended up having to pick Philadelphia in our picks last week.
You didn't have to.
I kind of had to if I wanted to make any headway. By the way, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Can I tie? Maybe we'll talk about that next week. Yeah, I think I'm one behind you. Am I two behind you?
I think you're 2 behind me.
Okay.
Yeah, because you
with
were 3
one game.
last week.
Maybe we can make it worth 2. But I found myself rooting against Kansas City, and not because there's no personal. I just feel like I have Chiefs fatigue. I'm just kind of
really?
I'm a little bit over them.
Yeah.
I just want to see a different, someone else in the big dance. Your thoughts on that?
I do not have Chiefs fatigue. I don't love the Chiefs, but I don't have a problem with dynasties. Maybe it's because I'm an Alabama fan and I kind of like the fact it's difficult to maintain this level of excellence for this period of time, and I think it makes the Super Bowl
slightly different shade of red.
Yes, it is. I think it makes the Super Bowl more intriguing when you have an opportunity for this team that could either make history, first to win 3 Super Bowls, or for someone like the Eagles to knock off and kick these guys. I think the Eagles would want to take down a team of this stature that's trying to make history. I think it's going to be a very intriguing Super Bowl.
Yeah, BK, you can hop in on this. Are you of Chiefs fatigue? Is that starting to set in for you at all, or are you like Cato?
A little bit. I'm really tired of this Taylor Swift.
Oh,
Kelsey
it's Swiftie.
thing.
It's the Swifties.
It's so much.
Oh, you better be careful out there.
I know, but that's what, I kind of admire good teams, in dynasties and stuff like that. Patriots, I really didn't mind
I never got
it.
tired of the Patriots. No. I mean, I think it's you have to tip your hat to an organization that can do some excellence every year, even with changing rosters.
Yeah, no, but there's an element of sure, you can respect what they've accomplished. Nobody's taking that away from them. But I think for 2 reasons. There's one, envy, right? Why can't my team do that? Right, there's a little bit of that, admittedly. Right, why are they so good? They make it look so easy. We had Grant Paulson from up in D.C. on a couple weeks ago, and he described it as it just seems so inevitable with them, and that's kind of the case where it's it just feels like, and then everybody gets into is it fixed, the referees and all. I don't want to go down that road, but so it's the envy. Yeah, that's real. Why can't my team do that? And then second, it's I feel like. Competition is king, and when it feels like the competition is not a competition anymore, then I kind of am checked out a little bit. I feel like that's where we're at. It just seems so inevitable, to borrow a word, that KC gets it done in the Super Bowl. I don't know.
To the competition aspect, though, that's the thing, though, is this Chiefs team, they haven't blown anyone out. Every game has been competitive, so you just kind of wonder. I mean, it has been fun to watch, kind of different ways of how they've found to stay at the top and get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I'd buy that more too if it was like the Dodgers next year in baseball, they've bought everybody.
Now I am tired of the Dodgers. I do have Dodgers fatigue.
They have one World Series under their belt.
Yes,
right. But the Chiefs are playing on a level playing field with everybody else.
Yeah.
So if your team is not as good as what the Chiefs are, then find ways to get better and find the ways that the Chiefs are doing it.
I think part of it is just like you are so successful for so long. Like in the beginning, it's like, wow, excitement. Like, who are these guys coming out of nowhere, probably playing the role of upset king at some point. And then, then the second year rolls around, you're like, oh, man, this Patrick Mahomes is really turning into a player. And then if you're successful long enough, you live, again, that old phrase, like you live long enough to become the villain. And that's kind of what happens in sports. It's like, okay, we were happy for you in the beginning, and now we're kind of sick of your act. You're blowing the doors off everybody, and we want to see somebody else in here. So, but you can still appreciate the fact that, like, I mean, we're watching a great team, a dynastic team. I think it's probably not too over the top to say that. And then obviously, Mahomes is going to be one of the best when it's all said and done. He's one of the best currently. So, all right, very good. What do we have on today's show, BK?
Tonight, we're going to have the pride of Dr. Phillips High School over in Orlando, Johnny Damon. Two-time All-Star, two-time World Series champ, and now...
I got to come up with an AI song for Johnny.
There you go.
It's maybe too late.
Johnny's probably already written his own.
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah.
We'll talk to him. He's now part of this new energy drink called A-Game. I haven't tried it, but I need some. Get my A-game up sometimes.
You bring your A-game every podcast.
I never do,
BK.
man.
Yeah, you do.
Stop. Okay.
And then at the end, for the first time in 2025, how about cranking up the randomizer?
Yeah.
Okay, first one of the year. Fun.
First one of the year, yeah.
No telling what that thing's going to spit out.
It always keeps us on our toes, edge of our seat. Are these AI generated questions?
No,
BK?
these
are you
are
getting any assistance?
No, these are all BK generated.
Okay.
Well, with some help with the randomizer.
Of course.
Well, you feed the content in, but it generates.
You change the randomizer's carburetor, so it keeps it going.
Exactly. Every 3 months.
Yeah.
You got to take care of it. All right, thanks, BK.
Thanks, guys.
If you're watching and you want to listen, you can go to fox13news.com/NODPOD. If you're listening and you want to watch, you can head to that same spot. I'm really off my cue today. You could zap the QR code on the screen. How about just do that? That's the easiest thing to do. It'll take to all of our shows in the bottom right-hand corner. You see it. And we invite you to subscribe. fox13news.com/NODPOD. Give us a 5-star while you're at it.
Please.
All right, so the big talker this last week, and it's been kind of beaten a little bit into the ground, but it's this idea of Liam Coen departing, taking the Jaguars job. There was, a little bit of back and forth as to what he was going to do, and, the fact that he wanted to stay and was going to stay, and then kind of quietly decided, on second thought, I'm going to go back for that second interview. But a lot of people... I watched this press conference, and I think a lot of people feel like in Jacksonville, hey, if you could just give me what you produced in Tampa, I want some of that, right? Yeah. I don't know that I would say he crushed the press conference.
Duval.
The Duval.
How does it go again?
Duval.
He was not quite sure.
It was like a question. Am I doing this right?
Duval?
He'll have time to figure that out.
Yeah.
And hopefully he gets beyond that. That's not stuck with him. But, I think that along this process, because of what happened in Tampa, a lot has been made of his character. In fact, I saw one of his clips from his media availabilities the other day, was talking about honesty and how that's something that's going to be a calling card for his team. Like the coach is going to be honest with players. They want players to be honest with themselves and kind of honesty. And so people are kind of joking, hey, but you didn't afford the Bucs that. So I feel like a part of it has been a shot at his character, and that he might have to fight through a little bit with Jags fans that are like, oh, why are they talking like this about my new head coach? So my contention is that perhaps what we saw this last week was a little bit, from Bucs fans, an exaggerated take on Cohen's, on the amount of deception that he used in order to get out the door and him leaving. That it's maybe an overreaction. Yeah.
You don't think it was a lot of people have made it out to be completely deceitful. Like he's telling the Bucs he's going to stay. He's going to, $4.5 million, make him one of the highest paid coordinators in the league. Tells him that one day, and he's pulled himself out of the coaching search, Jacksonville's coaching search, and then the next day he's going back to Jacksonville. I think all of these things are always more complicated than we ever see on the surface. I think we probably only see or hear about 30% of what is actually going on. And all we can do is maybe he could have handled it differently, but to have a chance at this opportunity now rather than something that could happen down the road, and to be in a position where you get to help pick the GM and more guaranteed money, what was it, $60 million? It's tough to be mad at
Yeah,
the
I don't
guy.
know how many people are taking issue. There's probably still some out there that think like, oh, he shouldn't have actually gone at all. I don't think people had the issue with that as a whole. I think it was you went back after telling the Bucs that you were going to stay. It was a verbal agreement. So really it comes down to, are you a man of your word? If you gave your verbal yes, then you should stick to that no matter what that second offer was. Or you should have went back to management with the Bucs and said, look, I'm going to actually go for the second interview. They upped the ante or whatever it was, or we've been thinking about it. My wife and I have been talking about it some more, and I think I want to. So the verbal part, like how upfront were you with the Bucs? And so my question is, like in the business world, like to what level is that required? And do we have to say, oh, you have a character flaw because of because of the way you dealt with something when there was no like legally binding. I mean, I just think it's different than like a personal relationship, right? Like if I promise I'm going to do something for you and I don't do that promised thing, then it's a reflection of my character. But in a business setting, to what is my employer owed?
Yes.
And we know that obviously the things can be reversed, right? They can make a promise to him, hey, you're going to be our coach for 3 years, and they could can him in 6 months. Like anything is possible. But it comes down to like, if it's not written on a contract, then how binding is that verbal agreement? You know?
And when does the negotiating end? I don't think it does. My personal opinion, I don't think it ends until there is ink on paper.
Yeah.
And that's why I can't really say that he was deceitful in how he negotiated, because who needs a second interview if Jacksonville's representation reaches out and says, look, this is how we're sweetening the deal? Maybe he doesn't even need a second interview. Maybe he just says, okay, I can't turn that down.
Yeah.
Like that's the perfect setup for me.
I mean, my guess in a lot of this is we kind of fill in these blanks, as you mentioned, because we only know a portion of it. But like if he said I was going to stay in Tampa, I think at the moment he said that he intended to stay. So a verbal agreement is really kind of like, it's just marking your intention, like I think in a business setting, and then it's firmed up with, okay, now it's binding. Now I've signed the contract, so all other opportunities are off the table. And I think we can have this conversation without impugning the guy's character, making him seem like he's a snake. I certainly don't think that that's the case based on what I've seen play out in this situation with Coen. I hope he does well up there. I hope he succeeds. But the Bucs are going to be fine.
It's not
they have the players. They got the machine already. They're going to bring somebody in here that's going to get this thing up and running. And it's sometimes that's why it's business, right? It's just there's an ugly side to it sometimes where people's feelings do get hurt, and it feels like, oh, I thought we had something, and you're leaving me. But at the end of the day, I think we can all understand, like he's setting himself and his family up and his kids up for to be taken care of financially for a very long time, and so
at least until 3 years when he's fired, when the Jaguars are doing Jaguars things, and Trevor Lawrence hasn't developed. And
well, that's a possibility.
They're playing in London. They're now the London Jaguars, or whatever.
That may be an upgrade. We'll see. But I look at the dynamic that he's going into, and you don't see this very often. In fact, I can't recall one where a head coach is coming in and being able to select the GM. Obviously, there's been head coaches that come in and you kind of become the GM, the Belichicks of the world, the Pete Carrolls of the world. But his dynamic is different, and I'm curious as the more I spent time thinking about it, like, how much is this a good situation in terms of just long-term success? I'm a rookie head coach. I'm coming into a situation where I'm going to help or have a large say in my GM hiring. What are those dynamics going to be like? Do I even have anything on my plate to where I can like really be as involved in the player personnel acquisition as, say, a veteran head coach that was given the same opportunity is going to get? And then I look down the road in Vegas, and that dynamic, when they hire John Spytek, first-time GM, they hire him and Pete Carroll at the same time. And the conversation that they had during the press conference I thought was pretty interesting. Here's John Spytek getting his first opportunity to run the show, right? He is the GM. But I heard a lot from Pete Carroll about, hey, this is a partnership. We're going to do this together. We're going to do this together. And I'm thinking, if I was the GM, I kind of, yes, we're a partner. Like, we want to have these discussions, but who's getting the final say?
I am the general manager here.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, so which situation is success going to take place in more? I don't know, because they're both different dynamics.
I do think it's tougher probably for a Spytek, first time in that role. And then Pete Carroll he's got a Super Bowl. He's Pete Carroll.
Well, in Seattle, he was the VP of player ops. So he basically was the GM there. So you got to think, like, you're not getting a guy across the finish line as a GM unless your head coach is saying, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I want that. I want that.
So it's like when you're evaluating
who has the veto power?
College players coming out for the draft, like who is making that final. It's interesting. We saw Hard Knocks this past season. It was the Giants, and it was so interesting because Joe Shane is this young guy who. And you really appreciate how these guys, as GMs, come up through the ranks as scouts for other organizations and how hard they work. And, well, we saw what happened to the Giants this year. And with you, the head coach is often tied to that GM. And we've seen the Jets are a good example of how, and hopefully it doesn't go this way for Liam Coen, but if you get the wrong guy, like Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh gone at the same – the Jets have gone through that a couple of times. It was McConaughey and Adam Gase first, and then this with Joe Douglas and Saleh. And so you are tied together quite often. And, and that was the talk with the Giants as well. If the Saquon thing looks terrible now, so are we going to stick with Shane and dabble, or are we going to hit the reset button? So I think it has to be the right – you don't get many Brett Veach, Andy Reid's, Les Snead, Sean McVay's. It's a very important relationship, but those don't come along too often.
It is. And, I think it's always a struggle over kind of ego, like who's going to get the last say. So you do need to have like a really selfless like – view on from both these. You do what you do really well. I'll do what I do really well. Hopefully we can agree on what that player, kind of looks like that we want to bring into our organization. And I'm not trying to like disparage the Vegas Raiders situation. They were saying all the right things, but I would think as a first-time GM, like my head coach is maybe a little too. Sounds like he's really kind of trying to take the bull by the horns a little bit. But maybe it's not. Maybe that's not the case. And I wish him nothing but the best. But I look at like up the road in like Washington, and they brought in last year two people, very similar situation, first-time GM and Adam Peters, and a veteran head coach in Dan Quinn. And they've struck that balance. It seems like they each aren't stepping on each other's toes. It's very collaborative. They did a great job through the draft and through free agency this last year. Obviously, they made a nice little run into the playoffs. So I think that's the hope for every GM and head coach. It's always an interesting dynamic, right? Like who's the one that ultimately has veto power in the relationship, and. Yeah,
I think
time will tell.
The blueprint you want is Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell.
That's a pretty good one.
They were both new in those roles, right? Like that, they both started together and have just completely. You can tell they're on the same page with how we want this culture to feel and what we want this roster to look like.
Yeah, and I think it builds on itself the more I trust your vision. Like if I'm the coach and I see the kind of guys you're bringing in as a GM, then I trust you more and more, and vice versa, right? Like the guys that if I'm the GM and I see my head coach employing all these guys and putting them in places to succeed, then I trust them more and more. So we're gonna head to break, and as we do, we got to play this. This is about Brian King.
BK's got dreams bigger than the sky.
Yeah.
Sports producer with an Alabama. He's the voice of Tampa we can't deny. Unheralded star makes the crowd comply. Pod King without the fanfare.
No Pod King.
Noise, BK's the man. Bring it all.
Check this out, chorus. Here we go.
Alabama crimson is heart so true.
Welcome back to the No Off Days podcast. That is the new song, the BK Anthem, available in the NODPOD show store.
I love it. I hope
It's
you
very
wrote something
good.
as good for me.
It's a little different, flavor, different genre, but we'll get to that here momentarily. All right, time to dive in. Our guest. It's never too early to talk a little baseball, right?
Not with a character like this.
Weeks away, right? Let's get into it. Time to bring in our guest, Chris, two-time World Series champ, former member of the Tampa Bay Rays. He had a long baseball career, and for a little drink of water, he spent it here in Tampa Bay. We welcome to the show Johnny Damon. Johnny, welcome on in. 18 years in the bigs. One of those stops here in Tampa Bay under Joe Madden. You guys went to the playoffs that year. You had Longo, Upton, Zobrist. What do you remember about your stop here in Tampa Bay?
Oh, I had so much fun playing in Tampa, and I wanted to continue. I know Don Zimmer really was hoping I came back, and for some reason, the sabermetrics of the game, they always look at your age and all that stuff. But I'm a gamer. I go out there, bring my A game every single day, and so I was disappointed because I waited all off season because I also knew that Tampa was going to wait and see what happens when they traded players or whatnot. And unfortunately, I wasn't important to bring back. And I ended up playing my last year in Cleveland. I didn't get signed until May 1st, so that made it very difficult because I had missed 10 weeks, no spring training, no first month of the season. So it's very hard when you really don't have the time. Like, I'm trying to hit golf balls during that time of year, and then I get a call from Cleveland, go join them, and it just wasn't the same. I love playing in Tampa. I'm hoping they can figure out this next season because it's sounds like it's a pain in the rear right now. What what everyone's dealing with, what the players are dealing with. There's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, do you have any advice for putting a roof on a stadium, Johnny?
Well, I'm from Orlando. My advice is let's come on to Orlando. We have some great locations ready for a Major League Baseball team, and I would love to be a part of it. So I'm just an Orlando kid. I love playing in St. Pete. I love the restaurants. I love the beaches. I love all that stuff. I just live in Orlando, and I want to be able to go see a lot more baseball games without having to deal with I-4.
Right,
And then
yeah.
275.
That's a bit of a problem.
It's a mess. It's tough to get there.
You recently got a chance, though, to play with the Savannah Bananas, though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
was that like riding a bicycle? Like you just got back after? Did it make you feel a little bit older? Like how was that experience?
Oh, yeah. It's not like riding a bike. I mean, so many years away from it. I've been staying active playing soccer and all that good stuff, but um, trying to throw a ball, trying to hit 94 miles per hour. I mean,
Right.
and I'm doing it cold turkey. As I mentioned, I'm swinging the golf club from the right side. So when I decide to do Savannah Bananas, I pretty much pick up a bat and take some practice swings. Take batting practice when I get there, and that's about it. So I'm going into it cold turkey, and it's fun seeing those guys bring smiles to so many families, and it's a tough ticket. I mean, I know they can probably sell out the Trop even without a roof in like 5 minutes, and I know the Coliseum out there in Oakland. I'm sure they can sell that out very quickly too. So they're a big draw. This is something that baseball needed. I mean, you do have great talent in baseball. We've had great seasons and playoffs, and Savannah Bananas just brought something different. They brought that Harlem Globetrotter
Right.
feel that people want to go see and see trickery and see the backflip catches and yeah, see stilts out there pitching and hitting. It's fantastic.
No doubt. So I got to ask you, you mentioned your A game, and I see you're rocking the gear and you're about to take a sip. So while you do that, you can tell me about just how delicious that drink is. But this is like one of your new ventures, right? So like post-baseball, you get a chance to try other things, and this is the game that you're into now, is this athletic performance hydration beverage, and I got to hear about it. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's a clean hydration drink, no artificial flavors, no artificial coloring, none of that forever chemical stuff in this thing. And we taste great. We get our sugars from natural honey. We get our hydration from sea salt. And you always have to bring your A game for everything you do, like playing baseball, being a parent, just in life. bring your A game so you're not disappointed. And I always brought mine. I always got after it. But in 2012, there were a lot of kids in the Central Florida area that were very dehydrated. And we had a death in Florida, and we also had a death in Georgia. And they were football players. We know how hot the summers get. And we just wanted to make something cleaner. And this is very clean. And I brought Bo Jackson, the greatest athlete of all time, on board. I have Tyler Adams, U.S. Team. The World Cup is going to be tremendous for the states, and we couldn't be happier. We have a lot of great people on our side, and we're very excited about the direction that A game is going. And yeah, it's going to be our year. We're bringing
a
our
lot
A
of
game.
big names, but I didn't hear Chris Cato on that list.
Well,
Our very
I
own
want to
Chris
know.
Cato. Yeah.
He clearly Johnny's known for the great flow. Does that help with the hair growth too? Because it's getting to that point in my life where I know that's a hydration drink, but could this help up top too, Johnny?
Well, check out this hair. Of course it can.
All right,
Wow.
sign me up then. Sign me up. And we saw your son in the background earlier. Whose hair is longer, yours or Dash's?
Well, Dash is the reason why I started growing my hair again, because this kid gets so much attention, and he gets called a girl all the time, and I always tell him it's okay to be a beautiful boy, and he is that, and he is insane. It's different because Michelle and I had 5 girls, and then I got a vasectomy, and a year later, here comes Dash, and we had like TMZ, like questioning, oh, do a paternity test and all that stuff, and as you can see, that kid is me.
There's no doubt. But now I know why you named him Dash. He dashed through there somehow.
Yeah.
So you have 8 kids now? Is that what I read?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
8 kids. My oldest son just got married right before Christmas, and my daughter passed her bar, and she's a attorney, and then I still have 6 at home. So we're still trying to do our best. We're still bringing our A game. Kids all seem to be happy, and hopefully continue to be happy. And I'm going to do everything I can to continue to make their lives great. I know what I had to fight through to get to the big leagues, and growing up here in Orlando, running track and also playing baseball, and just this has been home for 44 years. So I'm trying to give them the best life possible.
All right, we're going to take a quick break with Johnny Damon, but let me give you a little tease. Let me give you a little tease for the next block. This is the BK, the Chris Cato anthem. Here we go. More to come on this.
That's funky.
It's got it. Got a little funk.
I like that.
We got some rap, too. Here we go.
All right.
Cato.
He said Cato.
Strolling down the street, loving every scene. Alabama shot at the roll tide, you know the score. Graphic tees and mom jeans.
I got to ask you, you mentioned growing up in Orlando. You've experienced a lot of things that none of us are ever going to be able to experience. And one of those was a not so pleasant memory, I would assume. But I want to take you back to Dr. Phillips High School, Orlando. You were playing defensive back in high school. Here comes this big lumbering tight end from Apopka High School, a name that you probably know now by the name of Warren Sapp. And Warren Sapp gave you a concussion. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And he used to live in my neighborhood over here, and we see him at these events every now and then. I know he got into coaching with Dion, but yeah,
So what's it
guy
like to
should
take a
never
hit from Warren Sapp?
Well, it's not fun. I mean, he hit people so well. They were like, "Why don't you hit people all the time and play defense and take yourself to the Hall of Fame?" So I think he learned how to hit people, and he definitely rung my bell. But we won that game 6-3.
I think
There
you
you
would.
go.
I think you would have been even better off if you had some A game to chug down right there. I mean,
No,
there you
I
go.
definitely needed a game, but I definitely needed to be Adam Sandler passing it out.
The water
All right.
boy. Very good.
Before I let you go, Johnny, do the Dodgers run it back? Do they repeat in 2025?
I think so. I think they're the favorite. I think New York's a better team. I wouldn't be shocked if they played each other again, but we know how tough it is to win. I mean, I was fortunate enough to win 2 of these, and at the end, when you win, they make it sound easy. it's never easy. It's the ones that we lose, um, you still think about it to this day. I'm thinking about our Tampa Bay Rays team. I feel like we were the best team. We were the hottest team, and we got off to a great start against Texas, and then all of a sudden we had a bad inning, and that just kept going. And so it's tough to win. And I'm glad that Tampa keeps going out and competing. I always thought um, when I was done that I wanted to go manage, and I thought managing Tampa Bay would have been fantastic, but they picked a great guy in Kevin Cash to lead them. I mean, lead them with not so high payroll. Got these guys ready to play every day, and you have to be committed every day. And Kevin Cash does that. So, congrats to him. I mean, I wanted that job, but he's done fabulous.
Had you interviewed for that, Johnny?
I wanted to interview for it, but they had Barry Larkin, Manny Acta, and Kevin Cash on their short list. And, Barry Larkin never put his name in that role, but I think they made the right choice. That Kevin Cash has done great, and I wouldn't mind getting back into the game. Dash is the youngest one right now. I would love to be able to have him on a baseball field and see some of the best players in the world. But I would love to bench coach and learn how to become a great manager. I'm a great people person, but I think I'm still a couple of years away to think about that. Trying to bring the A game to the masses, and hopefully I can do that as well as winning championships.
Well, look, if you and Michelle have one more kid, you can fill your own team. You have 9 Damons out there.
There you go.
The Damon All-Stars.
2 vasectomies now, so I've been safe for 8 years, so it's all good.
You can never be too safe, Hey, you had a lot of stolen bases in your career, You got some ones that can steal them, right? Where can folks get their hands on some A game?
Okay, well, here in Florida, you can go to Winn-Dixie if you're up in the Northeast, or Shaw's Stop and Shop. Alabama area, there's Piggly Wiggly. Sign a deal in Louisiana with Rouse's. We'll be in Publix around early summer. So, but right now in Florida, Winn-Dixie, but also go to drinkagame.com. You can get us on Amazon. And lots of great things happening. And thank you so much for having me on your show today.
Beautiful.
That was awesome.
Former Ray, 18 years in the bigs, 2 World Series rings that he just showed us. Yeah, how about that? Johnny Damon. Let's hear it for him. Thank you so much, Johnny.
Thanks,
how about
Johnny.
that? I'm not sure which one's 04 and which one's 09, but they both look very expensive. The great Johnny Damon. All right, we're going to go to break, and that means another AI song. This is more of the Chris Cato anthem. We got the fun block with BK coming up next.
How about it?
Bama flags waving, Project
Bama
Crimson
flags?
Sea.
Yeah.
Stars shining bright across the whole city.
Mom's pretzel salad. I love it.
Gotta spread his wings. Roll Tide forever, change you can't erase. In Chris Cato's universe, there's simply no space. Living in his prime.
Living in my prime. I'm way
Welcome
past.
back to the NODPOD.
All right.
I love it.
All right.
This is the Cato anthem. We gotta bring this down a little bit.
As written by.
By AI. So
Okay.
these are AI generated songs. I love it. Which one do you like more? Let's bring BK in. Do you like your song more, or do you like Chris's song?
I kind of like my song, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, pretty good.
Yeah. I like the chorus of your song. I think that should be your walk-up music every time.
I think it should be. It may be now.
It's got a little line about grass cutting in there.
Oh, does it?
Scott knew you would like
he
that.
smiles ear to ear while he watches grass cutting videos.
Nice.
We didn't write one for Scott. We didn't know this was
Next
happening,
week.
but
Next
we
week
I
is
just
Scott's
wanted
week.
I wanted to bless you guys. So there you go.
Thank you. That was quite the blessing. I like
Yeah.
the reference in my song about my mom jeans.
High waist, tight, what was the high waist, tight jeans?
I don't know.
something like
I
that.
need to have a word with that AI computer.
Yeah,
I can't.
it's Mama's sweet muse jeans, high waist, tight graphic tee, pressed.
Okay.
Recognize on the block, Cato straight blessed.
I am straight blessed. Sometimes AI gets things lost in translation.
There we
though.
go.
So is that one of those where you give it some words and you
Yeah.
say, here are some keywords I need
Yep.
you to include? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was blown away. I've never played with any AI tools, so this is my first, and I haven't gotten anything else accomplished this week. Just focused on this. So
his whole first block take on Liam was all straight AI.
Yeah,
Well,
That was all straight AI.
hey, don't replace us too soon, okay?
yeah.
That day's coming, but let's hang on to these
All
jobs.
right,
while
we got
can.
randomizer.
Ready for randomizer?
Let's do it.
AI will never replace the randomizer.
No, this is all
could they?
straight, regular generated, whatever content. You ready for the first one?
Let's do it.
Somebody say stop.
Okay.
All right.
You, me.
Stop.
You,
Sorry, I took it, Scott.
What is the worst car you have ever owned?
Ooh, boy. I've had some humdingers. I've told you guys on this podcast before, I'm not a car guy. I've never taken a lot of pride in what I drive.
Oh, never.
I mean, I have. That's true. I've made some upgrades recently, but look, most of the time I'm happy with whatever.
Yeah. He's got a Bugatti.
I'd say the worst one I ever had was probably which is, I hate to say it because it was also the best one I ever had because it was my 86 Nissan pickup, red, of course, and it's what I had all through college, and it got me through and well into my professional years too, working in my first TV gig in Panama City, Florida. But I say it's the worst because even though I put over 300,000 miles on it, it had no air conditioning. And I lived in Florida, and that was tough. And vinyl seats, that was, I was a sweaty mess. By the time I got to work, I was a sticky mess already. And then there was that one magical night where the only gear it would go into, it was manual. The only gear it would go into was reverse, and I worked the evening shift then, like I do now, and so I drove the 3 miles home in reverse.
Ah,
Yeah, didn't miss a beat.
3 miles, huh?
I drove 3 miles in reverse. Yeah, just I couldn't.
People are more likely to get killed on the way to the airport.
I stopped for red lights and everything. Wow. Yeah, but I'd say that was my worst one. But I hate to say that. It was a good Red Raider. I will always love you.
Yeah, mine was similar. It was the best and it was the worst. It was an awful vehicle, but it was my first, and so it was my first taste of independence. It was a 1973 GMC Jimmy. So it was a big SUV type of ride, and it was the hard top came off. But it it was awful. It had no shocks or struts. It revved so high. I mean, I would go out in the morning and start it up, and everybody on the street could hear. It was like it would never stop doing that.
Look, you had a timing belt problem.
And the whole exterior of the car was just completely rotted through. Like the fenders were all rotted out. It looked like it had
Rust or rot?
It was rotted and rusty.
Was it made of wood?
No, it was just like it was bondoed, a lot of bondo. But this thing was it was a total dump. And I bought it for about $1,000. That was my first ride. I really enjoyed the freedom that came with it.
Yeah, money well
BK,
spent.
do you have one?
I got hold of this Sable. I still have no idea how I bought this thing, and it was doomed from the very start. We just had our first child, and I don't know why I bought it. Transmission went out on it, and I don't even think I had it for a year, but I was glad when that thing was gone.
Mercury Sable. Okay.
Yeah,
Not a ringing
it was like
endorsement.
A gold color. It was just terrible all around, man. But I'm glad to get rid of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody else walked into that trap. He sold it.
I think it would.
Honey, they bought the Sable. Can you believe it?
You ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right, roll it.
All right, stop.
If you could relive one sporting event that you've witnessed in your life, what would that be?
Like I was present for it?
Yeah, let's do that.
I mean, aside from any sporting event that I was personally playing in, if there was one thing that I played in, it would be my senior year baseball. We played our opening round game. We were the lowest seed. Our baseball team had not made the playoffs in years and years and years and years. But my senior year, we had a really good team. We made it in, and I had the game-winning hit, and that was the greatest moment.
Walk off.
It was the greatest moment. We still had to protect in the bottom half of that inning, but we were the away team. But we knocked off the top seed, and we were just a little old school. So that was
That's a good one.
That was a great moment. I celebrated at every single base around the way. Like the bags were, I think we had two on. I think it was second and third or first and third. And so I get a base hit, and we ended up scoring the 2 runs to take the lead because they kept overthrowing the ball along the way. So I would stop, celebrate at each bag, and then run. Yeah, so that was great.
Nice.
Outside of that, Yeah, Brett Phillips. That was for his home run or his walk off in the World Series. I was there for that, and that was amazing.
That was a big one. Yeah. This is tough for me. I've been to a ton of Alabama football games, but none of them were really competitive. Like, I've been to some blowouts. I've been on the bad end of a few. None of the championship games. Brian knows I went to the championship game where we lost to Clemson at Ray J. So certainly not that one. Don't want to relive that. I did go to the one in Austin, Texas 2 seasons ago, and that Bama won on a walk-off field goal, but I don't want to relive that because it was a billion degrees in a noon kickoff in Austin. Don't want to relive that. So I'm going to go, I'll take a page out of your book and go my last basketball game as a high school senior. We were in the sectionals of the state tournament, made it pretty far and had a good team and lost to a team we should have beaten. It was tough, but it was – I think that I would relive it because you didn't realize in the moment that the season was about to end and it was the last time that you would play with these guys and with this team. And that was the only sport I played in high school, too. So it was really kind of my last – I know it's hard for you to believe, as athletic as I am, but I didn't play college sports. So, yeah, I'd probably choose that one.
I should have added that line to your AI song.
Yeah.
He never played college sports.
You should see him in his cutoff shorts.
He wore those really
He's got some
high
parts that
shorts.
are out of sorts.
Oh, man. Okay.
Very good.
BK, do you have one?
The best game I ever went to, it's probably the 1984 Iron Bowl. It means nothing to nobody probably listens to this podcast.
It means something to me.
It does. It was a great Bama walk-off kick against Bo Jackson and his team. But it was great because I was there. It was probably the only game me and my brothers have watched together. I was young, and we had to sit separate from our parents, so we were in the Auburn section, but it was awesome.
Oh, that was the Van Tiffen kick.
Van Tiffen kick.
Oh, that's a
Mike
legendary
Shula,
in Alabama. That's you have paintings, people hang Daniel A. Moore paintings of the kick over their fireplace.
Yes, that's
a good one to be at.
So, yeah, I love that one.
I wish we could all get in that time machine and go back and watch Scott's game-winning hit. That sounded like fun.
It needs to be a
I
song.
mentioned that one. That was our round one game. We lost. We ended up losing in the second round.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
How about another one?
Yep. I want to say stop this time and stop.
Okay, what is the luckiest thing that has ever happened to you? And meeting girlfriends, wives, nothing. Let's don't do that. Let's just a good, legit.
Okay. Nothing sappy.
Yeah, nothing sappy.
Okay, well, that's going to change my answer.
Oh,
I was
sorry.
about to get sappy on you kids.
Meeting us?
Luckiest thing. I'm not a man who believes in luck, but if there were such a thing, there was a time in the break room where 2 bags of chips came out instead of 1. Has that ever happened to you?
Yes.
You get that bonus bag?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and there was this other time I got a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos, and have you ever found this thing in some bags? Very rarely, there is the Dorito at the bottom that is curled up, and it's got a
hair inside of it?
No, it's like a lump of the spices. The seasoning didn't get evenly distributed, and it's all in there in like a little ball, and you just pop that thing, and you're set. Like you're good to go. I don't know, man. You said not get sappy.
Sounds like you do know. That was it.
I think that was it for me. You don't want to hear
I do. No, sorry, I cut you off.
But he
Please
said
tell
not
me.
to get sappy. Okay, I'll just say that it was in high school as when we were trying to figure out, where to go to college. I sat down with this recruiter from Troy State University. I'd never heard of it. And they said, hey, good grades here. We could probably get you a full scholarship. And I said, okay, I don't know where your school is, but full scholarship sounds good. Best decision of my life. That's where I knew I wanted to do some kind of journalism, but that's where I found TV. And, met my future wife there. And, so I'd say stumbling into that Troy recruiter.
Sorry, it was getting a little too sappy.
Did you put anything about my Dorito in my song?
I didn't know that. Luckiest thing that's happened to me. Again, I'm in agreement with Chris. I'm not a big luck guy, but I will say the most blessed in a moment that I've ever felt was this recent hurricane. We had moved right before the hurricane.
Oh, yeah.
And so we dodged a little bit of a bullet in terms of the location of our former home and to where we moved. And it happened right before the hurricane came in. So I was very blessed in that regard.
New family that moved in, not so lucky.
Yeah. There you go. You had to bring that up.
Do you have one, BK?
I liked your story, Cato. That was awesome, man.
That's pretty good, right?
I was at some bowl game walking across the parking lot late at night, found $60 on the ground.
Hey!
That's good.
That's luck there.
And you took it back to concessions and said, would you make an announcement over the
Somebody-
loudspeaker?
Right
Somebody's
in my
lost their
right
60.
pocket, looked
'Cause it was
around
in-
if anybody was behind
It was
Wow.
inside of a wallet. The wallet was inside somebody's pocket, and his hand was in.
Well, I left that
grabbed
part
it.
out.
You could
Look
should
what
put,
I found.
Put that in BK's AI
Yeah,
song.
there we go.
You might be stealing your wallet.
All right.
Okay, one more.
Yeah, let's do it. Stop.
All right. Name a place in Florida that would surprise people that you've never been to.
Ooh.
Some place in Florida that you've never been to that probably surprise a bunch of folks.
You want to take this one first?
A tattoo parlor. No. So I guess the big two that come to mind are Key West. Never been. Would it surprise anyone that I haven't been to Key West? Though it's kind of far. It's still way
It is
down
far.
there.
It's a long ways
It's
away.
a haul.
Yeah.
And then Miami. I've been to where they play football, but that's not really in Miami. What's that? That's Miami Gardens. So I've never been to like South Beach and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll check that off the list soon.
I have been to everywhere in Florida. I think what people might be surprised to find out is that I've never been to Land O'Lakes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, don't you live in Land O'Lakes? No.
Just south. No. Yeah, I don't know. I've been. Where's a place that I haven't been?
You've been to Key West?
I have not been to Key West.
Okay.
But I didn't want it. That was yours. So yeah. We talked about going there for spring break. I don't know. It seems like there would be too many people there.
Have you
Yeah.
been to the Columbia?
I have been to
Restaurant?
the Columbia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I love the 1907 salad.
One of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take all those years. Good years for salad, by the way.
Yeah.
Very good year. Yeah.
What
about you, BK?
Yeah.
I've not been to Universal.
No.
Not been to Universal? Okay.
Never been.
It's a good,
Huh.
it's a good
Yeah.
trip. Good place to spend some money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
They're expanding it always, different worlds.
Yeah, I'm not a big theme park guy, but I've done Universal. That they've done a lot of the most of their rides. It seems like is the kind of simulator rides.
Yeah.
Yeah, on one side, the Islands of Adventure side that's where you get the good coasters. That's where you
Yeah.
got the Hulk, you got the Velocicoaster. Like that's a good place for coaster heads.
Yeah. Well, that's
You know what we need is an AI song
sorry,
to play.
BK. I'm just playing your song right now
On the podcast sphere.
in the podcast stream.
Actions loud, it's the sound we revere.
Actions loud, it's the sound we revere.
Sorry, was there something you were trying to say?
I was just going to say we need an AI song for when the segment starts to drag. Just to kind of start like they do at the award show where they start playing music to play them off.
I think this is it. This is the cue. This is the big hook is coming out. Much thanks to BK and Chris
Yes.
and Johnny Damon and Mariah. Mariah's a little jelly that we didn't get her an AI song, but we'll make it happen, all right?
You got to get Scott an
Very
AI
good.
song.
No, I'm good, man. Until the next time we're on, there are no off days. Back to the AI generator I go.